So this next panel is Creative Mercenaries, the intersection of art and commerce. And so we're very excited to have an esteemed panel here today. This is like probably my favorite panel. These are like the heavy hitters we have with us. I will introduce to you all our panel first, starting with the incredible and incomparable Navasha Dea. The wonderful and talented and incredible Ainsley Burroughs. Our In Conversation series honorary chair and the incredible actor from Baltimore who's currently starring on Suits LA, Ms. Lex Scott Davis. And finally, on our panel, I am very honored and pleased to say that, first of all, if you have not been to Scout, the art fair with accessible art that is setting War Memorial Building on fire, not literally. There have been no incidents like that. But I saw nothing but a steady stream line of folk walking into the War Memorial Building to see what has been curated, which is also new to Artscape this year, by the absolutely incredible Derek Adams. And to lead this conversation, I would like to start by giving a shout out to my Senior Director of Marketing, Tia Goodson, who's floating around here somewhere and probably doesn't want to be seen, but I'm giving her this shout out because Tanya and I start by telling the team, dream big, and then we tell them, scale down. Because when you tell a group of artists at the Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts to dream big, they dream big. And so when she said, I would like to bring to Baltimore Kofi Cerebo, I said, scale down. She said, no, I think that this is important. He is a passion-driven artist. I think that if he sees what we're trying to do, he will come to Baltimore for us. And I was like, shoot your shot. And he's here. Of all his, I could go up and down with his accolades, but understanding who Kofi is, not just as an incredible artist. And here he's coming in, getting ready to star in the next season of Harlem. I cannot wait. The incredible Kofi. This is all you, sir. The incredible Kofi Cerebo is leading our conversation today.
Hey, all right. What's up, y'all? How you doing? Man, so to get started, I want to start with our wonderful panelists. The question I have for you guys is, what do you want from the world, and what do you want to give to the world at this very moment?
You want to start, man?
Ladies first, huh?
Okay. Want from the world and give to the world. I mean, wow, okay. So,
Right in.
what I want from the world. See, I have a consciousness where I'm always thinking about others and seeing a cohesion in humanity where I want humanity to be humane and to operate in all the systems, to operate in a space of peace and integrity. And what I want to give to the world is my art that's given, ordained by God, obviously all of us, and to continue to be, give to the world my art and my patience and an example of working hard on myself to be an example to others. And I think I'll stop there.
Beautiful.
What do I want from the world? I just need people to chill. That's what I want from the world. Just chill. Just relax. That's all I want from the world. People to chill, mind your business, right? That's what I want from the world. What I want to give to the world. I want to put a battery in somebody's back. That's it. That's what I want to give to the world. That's it.
What I want for the world is a real sense of joy. I think that's hard to come by. And what I want to give to the world is grace and giving people time to heal, giving people time to find that joy, and hopefully that they can give themselves grace as well in that process. That's it.
Oh, awesome. I mean, that's a big question. What I think about a lot as a creative, and actually the benefits from being a creative, is the openness that we maintain for the most part. And so I would like for the world to be more open and be more just supportive of things you don't understand. And I would like to just offer like facilitation and community in a way that you can do it. I mean, I want people to, and I want to be able to help people within my reach. I think if everyone helped people within their reach, we'll be better off. I think a lot of times people are overwhelmed by the challenge of society, but I think if we go back to doing what we physically can with our reach, you know, like I was saying before, like helping people. When I was young, we would help people carry their bags to the car as kids at the supermarket. Like those type of things are the things that we need more of, that type of thing. You know, I think it changes the way that people think about community when you do the things that you physically can do, and don't think about trying to save the world necessarily. But I think saving the world can start in small ways. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Powerful, powerful. This question is for Ainsley. I want to know how do you stay committed when the journey gets quiet, or when something feels unclear? I know that I read that there was a car accident that you experienced that kind of shifted your approach and just, you started diving into art.
How do I stay committed?
Yeah,
Yo.
committed.
So it's two things, right? One, I have to be committed because if I wasn't committed, I would be committed. That's real life. That's the realest thing I could ever say to you. Like, as a kid growing up, my father's mom has seasonal depression, so she'd be like walking in the street, talking to the flowers, wearing my grandfather's suit over her dress, and then 6 months later, she'd be totally normal. On my mom's side, she had like one aunt, two uncles who, like, in Jamaica they say you're mad in the street like crazy, right? So part of my own art practice is about making art so I don't go insane. So my commitment is at that level is kind of like, I feel like I have to keep making art in order to stay insane. The second part is I feel like, and I know this as a fact, that art can change the world. Like art could change people. I've seen it so many times as a poet, as a writer, as a painter. I've seen art change people. The first time I realized the power of like art, period, I saw Alvin Ailey. It's dance. And I'm in tears, like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, yo, thug, what's going on? I'm like, why are you feeling this thing? It's just somebody moving their bodies, right? And so I know the power of art, so that's what I'm committed to. I'm committed to the power of art, but also part of it is selfish. I'm trying to stay sane. So.
I love it. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, when we talk about spaces, and Lex and Derek, you creating these spaces and systems that help us, function and manage and, sustain. But can you speak about some of the systems that help you, that help inform the spaces you create and the art you create? And either you could take that.
Well, some of you may not know, but I have a creative space in Los Angeles. It's a soundstage, a photography studio in Culver City, if you're familiar with Los Angeles and Culver City. It's barely a year old. It's my sweet baby. And, you know, I grew up, before acting, I grew up here. I was part of a dance studio. It was in Hamden. I was there from 3 years old until I graduated high school. I danced my whole life, and I don't have any siblings, but I found my extended family through that dance studio. And that gave me community. That gave me some place to go outside of just going to school and going home. I had some place to go twice a week. And actually one of my dear friends, my god sister, who is part of putting on Artscape, Morgan Chase, I met her at that same studio. We were babies. And I have my creative community here. They helped shape the artist that I am today. That is where I learned performance. That is where I was able to learn about Ailey and learn about Michael Jackson and all of the things. And so I saw value at an early age of what creative communities could do for people, and bringing people together from different parts of the city. Some people weren't as fortunate as me when I was a child, and putting us in the same room, learning the same French language ballet together and going through that together, it made us equal. And that is a very, very important part of the start of my journey, my upbringing as a kid. And so as an adult, and living in Los Angeles, everything's very spread out. Different type of people stick to themselves. They don't really blend. So there's a lot of different types of cultures there, but they don't really blend together. And I was lacking a sense of community for myself in Los Angeles. And so with something like creating a space for photographers, actors, directors, students of the craft, to have a place to go and meet people and exchange information, exchange ideas, create things with each other, that felt really important to me, and it felt like it was missing, and it felt necessary to bring that to Los Angeles. And so, again, very early in the journey of that process, but already I can see what it's been able to do for the community, but also myself. And, instilling these values and these principles on my kids, and they can see me have this space and bring people together and understand different people of different walks of life and different mediums of art. So that's been a true joy and part of my journey.
Question: how do you stay organized?
Oh, Jesus.
How do
So
you stay
women,
organized?
we have like a really good quality of like being multitaskers.
Okay.
My brain is always in like 8 different places at the same time. But I write things down. I'm sticking to schedules. I'm sticking to to-do lists. It's very chaotic as a kid. Obviously, most artists, we kind of are. But that was a tool I had to learn how to do to survive, and also to be on time for the things that people are expecting, big things of me. Whether it's acting while simultaneously owning and running a studio, while being a mom and being a wife. And there's so many different parts of my brain that are going at the same time that people need. They rely on that organization. They rely on me having time management skills. And I rely on me having time management skills too, because I also need to carve time for myself. I have to carve time for myself and to rest so that I can be my best self for all of these people who need me to show up. So, just multitasking, also not being afraid to ask for help when needed. Asking for assistance, calling on peers, calling on, your resources. It took a long time for me to not have shame with asking for help. I'm very much like do everything myself kind of person. And I like to move fast. So when I have an idea, I'm like, I need to execute it now. I can't wait for anybody. But, there's sometimes you can't do everything. And it's okay to reach out to your peers. And it's okay to reach out to people. You might meet people here today that might be of service to you in the future, service to your idea in the future. And relying on those people and experiences and, connections that you make to to help you out. It's okay, and to not have that shame with that.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, for me, honestly, growing up here in Baltimore, I grew up in Park Heights. I went to Edgecombe, Green Spring, Northwestern,
Park Heights.
and I moved to Baltimore. I moved from Baltimore to New York in '93, and honestly, moving, in Baltimore was such a great experience. It's a humbling city. It's really grounded, and I always say this thing about like, Baltimore. As I remember growing up, it was always a city that's a really bad self-promoter. Because in the city of Baltimore, you really can't be a self-promoter. It's like a thing. If you do it too much, or you're networking too much, or you're like smoozing too much, that's always looked upon as a negative thing here because it's a blue-collar town and people look at those type of things as being unauthentic or trying too hard. But leaving Baltimore as a Baltimorean, I actually learned how to best represent Baltimore by stepping away from the city and looking at it from a monetary or cultural capital perspective. And I realized that I had creatives around me all the time who did not necessarily take on the role as creatives. It became more about people being crafty or people being able to do things that are outside of their regular job, which is usually like a state job, a city job. So we all have people in our family who could sew. We had people in our family who could make things. We had people in our family who could do all these things, but they didn't really categorize themselves as a chef or as a seamstress and all those different things because they were really using their creative output as a source of extra income, not really thinking about it as actually an occupation or a position of creative output. And so moving out of Baltimore into New York and taking on other opportunities outside the city, I started to really look back at the history of the city and the people around me and realize that it really is a creative city without people necessarily taking on that as a position because there was no support really thinking about being a creative in Baltimore. Like people wouldn't even call themselves a creative, but I have a family full of creatives, but they would think of themselves as being like, doing things with his need to get done, But I come from a really interesting family who, I'm gonna give you a little context. I have one family member who is a beautician. She does all of my family's hair. When people pass away, she goes to the funeral home and she does your hair. She cuts your hair. She curls your hair. She does your makeup. I have a family member who does your makeup when you pass, but she also does other things. I have another aunt who sews. She makes all the dresses for everybody who ever passed away in my family. She makes it in a week. Is your favorite color? If it's a male, she'll make a tie and a little kerchief for your suit in a week. So I've always grown around people who are just very creative, and they are people who step into the creative space without really taking on that position. But I think that moving away and coming back, but never really being separated from Baltimore has really taught me how to best position the creatives in Baltimore because I felt like they really need a facilitator and an advocator in the arts. So that's what I've been doing in Baltimore for the past few years. I started a nonprofit called Charm City Cultural Cultivation. We have a residency that's called the Last Resort Artist Retreat, where artists come, they meditate, they relax, they have studios, they can work. It's not just artists, it's writers, visual artists, writers, chefs, musicians, historians, curators. They come for 4 weeks on the property in Waverly. It's like acre of property that I purchased a few years ago. Also have a storefront on Greenmount called the Charm City Headquarters. We do poetry readings with Zora's Den, which is a black woman-led publishing and writing group that we publish books every year. And we also have the Black Baltimore Digital Database, which is a space that support community members in archiving their own material. A lot of times, a lot of our materials we share on Instagram, we share on all these different digital platforms, but we don't really have a vault, a personal vault, to share our information with each other. And so that was another initiative that's been supported through funding and grant writing. But, all those things happen just from me stepping away and kind of looking at the optics of what is necessary. And I find in Baltimore, growing up, that was one of the things that was very much missing in my younger career as an artist. So I think that not being in Baltimore but shining a light back to Baltimore is something that was always missing. Because most of the creatives that I knew who grew up here, they would just leave because they were so frustrated with growing up here and not being supported. They were like, "You're doing that? Why are you doing that? There's too much to do," you know? Because leaving here is, I have a whole other life out in Brooklyn where I teach at Brooklyn College, but coming here is really like I've never left. Like I'm here every other week. I have a house here, and I'm here just, being very present. But the idea of support is something that I think, and New Orleans is one of those places that I experienced that made me think about Baltimore when I was in New Orleans. I was like, we got crabs, they got crawfish, I was like, the vibe is similar. People move the same way, kind of like slow. They're like super humble and modest, and they don't ask you like a bunch of questions about different things. And I'm like, I can do this. It was all these models of different things that I was going to different cities and taking note and using as a reference to do the things that I'm doing here.
Beautiful. So this one is for you, Navasha. What's one shift in your thinking or a moment of unlearning that changed the way you approached your work?
That's why I wanted these questions ahead of time. Lord, moments. Say the question one more time.
A shift in your thinking or a moment of learning or unlearning that changed the way you approached your work.
Well, for me, so many of those. That's why I was like fleeting to me. My parents, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I came here to go to Morgan State University, MSU. And so many things have done that for me, like, singing in my family, singing with my family, singing a cappella, Sweet Honey in the Rock songs at 10 years old, and singing my dad's roots reggae band, and then coming here having a full scholarship to Berklee College of Music and choosing Morgan because they said it had the best HBCU choir, then becoming the president of the choir, Miss Morgan, all these different things. But every relationship, every experience changed my state of thinking. I would fast forward to now. I have an organization called the Youth Resilience Institute. It's 15 years old this year. And as an artist, I didn't even reveal to them that I was a professional singer. I would get off the plane from Japan and other countries, write a BOWI, and drive right into public housing in Cherry Hill and just do workshops. And when we first got there, my husband, Fanon Hill, who's somewhere behind that pillar, that workshop or that community didn't have a lot of different things, balls, books, whatever, and so I used our social capital and did free workshops. But that shifted my consciousness as well, because we look at why are we artists? What inspired us to be artists? What do we want to leave behind? I'm also an ordained interfaith minister, and one of the things we had to do in our classes was to write our obituary. So you did kind of like forecast what you want to see for yourself. And so how I want to be seen as an honorable elder one day, and then an honorable ancestor one day, well, an elevated ancestor, that informs my work, the young people I work with, like working with young people in public housing in Cherry Hill, South Baltimore, Cherry Hill, and then them meeting someone, we take them across the country, and they meet someone from South Africa's that's in Jamaica.
Commission?
Say it one more time.
Commission houses?
Yeah, the houses in South Africa, Soweto, and they get to talk as artists, or us starting our annual Cherry Hill Arts and Music Waterfront Festival that's on the waterfront. It's our 9th year, and that being started by mentoring and guiding emerging artists from South of Baltimore and Cherry Hill who we identify, and they're learning about their how to do their bio and their pictures and how to do stage, how to present yourself on a stage, what is a stage plot, all these different things, and giving back. So that informs my work big time, because it's not just about me. Artists, and I say all of us are artists, people say artists, visual artists,
Of course.
then you have, performing artists, everything can be an art form. And I also don't do classical, because every culture has a classic aspect to them. It's European classical, Indian classical, African classical. That's just a little sidebar. But for me, it's about, assisting others. It's about how do you remind people of their greatness and who they are. Specifically artists. I'm like walking, y'all don't understand. I'm like, you can sing? Come on. I'm doing a choir in the community. Oh, you play guitar? They're on one baby, he'll be this year at our festival, Timothy Scurry. We were filming a video or something in Cherry Hill, and he asked, what y'all doing? I said, what do you do? What's your name? What's your birthday? I always ask. I already know yours. You're a Pisces, by the way. I looked it up. Anyway, charming Pisces. Yep. The creatives, the natural actors of the zodiac. Oh my God, you're so good at that. I mean, not in a negative way, but y'all are excellent at embodying characters and stuff. And so anyway, but he said he played drums. I looked him up. I was like, you're on the stage. The festival's in a week. He was on the stage performing. He's performing again this year. That's the kind of work I do. I go to the communities that don't know how to do a CV or a bio and all that kind of stuff, and we're identifying that you're an artist. You're drawing. Oh, you have the gift. I can see the gift in people most like. That's just kind of a thing I do. And I'm like identifying you and saying, come on this stage or come and sell your art at this festival. So at this festival in your community, you get to sell and make money in your community while people from around the city and around the United States come to this waterfront festival and you get to see you and you get to make money. Those are the opportunities I like to do as well. To those who are not savvy, and I call it IKEA, where they understand how to present in this way that's polished. A lot of people who don't know how to present that way are overlooked in this city and everywhere. And so my husband and I, we do that work. We go into the places where people are like, I don't think I can go to Michael. I'm like, we're gonna call and I know people there and let's make it happen. So that's what I try to do with my art, and that's what shifted me as an artist. So I'm known for doing message music as an artist. I'm a cousin of Gil Scott Heron. I'm doing an album for him that's coming out next year. And so I'm known for that. And I'm in the community identifying artists and supporting them and mentoring them in their spiritual, emotional, and mental development as well, which is so important as an artist. You spoke on that a little bit, but for me, because of the training I had spiritually and with healing and Reiki and all these different things, I feel there's a space for that. I remember talking to NDRE and Rochelle Farrell a long time ago about having sister circles, dealing with that, but just making sure there's a space for healing for artists, because as creatives, we are closer to the source of all things because we are creating, we're little creators for the big creator. That's a powerful position to be able to see and manifest something. That's powerful, right? And it's a special place. I remember reading Malidomo Samay from Of Water in the Spirit. He wrote that book of the Dagar people in West Africa. He said the closest word to musician or artist is healer in his culture. So I take that quite seriously as an artist. I think people kind of know that when they see me and work with me. I'm not, the ratchet person or anything like that, which is not as exciting for social media and all that stuff. But for me, it's about giving back, realizing who you are, and what do you want to leave behind when you transition to spirit form? What do you want people to say about you? Who did you assist? Who's going to say your name in prayers? Who's going to acknowledge you because you mentored them or assisted them in their lives? To me, that's really important. It was instilled in me as a child.
That's beautiful. No, this question could anybody could take it, but as you were saying, creativity and commerce, that's an interesting dance, because like as an artist, I just want to make stuff for fun, but fun don't pay the bills, you know what I'm saying? So my question is, have you ever had to walk away from a money opportunity or something that felt like it could be a game changer, but it didn't align with who you were or where you were at or your morals, and anybody could take that?
I always do that, by the way. People know me. Even our organization, with funding and stuff, you look at the value systems, you want to make sure it matches, because money is really energy and it's really infinite. So when you have that kind of understanding of law of attraction, you want to be mindful of who you're associating with. So I know about people who like Denzel, different actors, like, I don't kiss, I don't do this, I'm not going to be this. And people will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. And sometimes you have to walk away. And as you grow in your career and your need or your value system, then they'll call you. But all associations is very important. So like, you have a bag of fruit. If you have one rotten piece of fruit, it makes all the fruit rotten. And association is so important. So for me, I have definitely walked away from many things because of the value system of the presenter. However, I always believe in second chances and reintroductions as well. So somebody may change and grow. I'm like, okay, let's talk now. Because everyone has everyone is in their own journey. You never know what they're experiencing. Maybe they had a class or teacher or somebody to help them. But I feel like, for me, there is a balance between making money, and I feel like we should be honored as artists. If we're the healers of the community, we should be taken care of. I mean, as if you get into that shaman kind of model where the community takes care of you. So I feel like there's nothing wrong with making money from your art and knowing your worth. And when we're talking about that, you have to know your worth. What is the standard? That's the other thing, going back to the community work that I do. People don't always know the standard of living. What is the average income of people in Baltimore? And just knowing that your income is way lower than that is fixed, what is that about? And so knowing your value as an artist, knowing the standard, and then also earning that. Earning the respect, earning. People don't want to earn. They just want to get it real quick on social media, get the numbers, and they're like, I'm great. But like, you have to put some time in. Who's your mentors? What have you done? And so having that track record so that you are earning the money. But definitely association is very important. And if the energy doesn't feel right, it's like, it's okay. It's all in divine order. So that's just me.
Okay, because you keep looking at me, Kofi.
I feel like you got something to say.
Well, and you probably can relate to this too.
Absolutely.
as an actor, as a performer, we're given stories all the time, and sometimes those stories don't align with our spirit. And that's a huge part of choosing our art form and where we're properly placed in the plan. You said something that I'm latched onto, which is how are you remembered as an ancestor? How are you remembered to your lineage, your great grandkids? That was something that was always really important to me, even before I was an actor. It was just something I constantly thought about. And so with choosing stories that I even auditioned for, it's everything has to resonate spiritually for me. And sometimes that story could still be out of line. It still could be playing a girl who's a little feisty or going through something, and that's fine. But like, what is the core of the story, and who is it for, and who it will affect, and who will it change, and who will it inspire? And I hope that one of the people that it will inspire will be one of my great grands. So that's something really important to me. So yes, money is nice, but if it's not in alignment with your core values and your beliefs, then sometimes you do have to say no to those things. But the beauty about saying no is that it leaves you room for the thing that is in alignment with you and where you are actually supposed to be. So I always get excited when either I say no to something or something says no to me, because that's not really saying no to me. That's leaving me available for the thing that is mine to find me.
We still talking about money? No, I'm kidding. kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'm playing. Ainsley, please.
Yeah,
please.
you want to go? You go.
Oh, there.
No, go.
Well, mine is just being.
And I was gonna ask, just to add on to it. Also, when is it okay to compromise, and what does it look like to compromise? Because you gotta be creative, and sometimes you gotta make it. You gotta make it make sense without compromising your soul or your integrity.
So when I left school, I was like, I'm going to New York City. I'm gonna be an artist. I'm gonna make it, right? That lasted for like 3 months or like 3 months. Be like, it's really, cause New York is different, right? I'm out here like really struggling, out trying to be a writer, trying to be a performer, trying to be an artist, and I'm broke, seriously broke, right? But I studied accounting and economics in school. That's why I studied undergrad. So I'm like, I did half of a master's program, had a car accident, left school. So now I'm in New York, fuck business, all of that. I don't need that. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do what I feel like I was put here to do, to make art. So I'm in New York City, broke. So I'm like, oh, damn. So I start applying for jobs, get a call from Goldman Sachs. They were first interview. They're like, oh, we'll call you back. I was like, I know what that means. That means no call back. So I'm still looking around, get a call back from them, go to like the, 13th floor, whatever floor. Me and one person, this black woman, like really buttoned up. She's, hey, my bro, like, why you here? And we having a conversation, and she says to me, where do you see yourself in this company in 5 years? And I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. I see myself traveling the world, see myself writing books, see myself traveling and performing over the world. And she says, I don't know if this is the place for you. And I said, you're right. So I could have, in that moment, I could have just been like, I see myself as vice president of or all that. Sometimes it's not like a big decision. It could be a tiny decision, right? And it's sometimes it's a test. Because if I made an opposite decision, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So like, I remember that moment because she is just like, it was like the final question before I chop your head off. It's like, where do you see yourself in this company? And I literally sat and looked at her and she was like, say the right thing, say the right thing.
Right.
And I just couldn't say what she wanted to say, So sometimes it's just a path where you have to decide, where you gonna be or who you're gonna be,
I mean, I think, being successful in negotiation goes hand in hand. As you become successful, negotiation becomes part of the exchange. The one thing that I've learned is normally when people come to you with a proposal, you've already won. because they've done their research into who they want to work with already. But the negotiation part is an art, and you have to understand the people in which who you're negotiating with. You have to understand their values and things that they hold true that are not non-flexible. And you also have to present things that you feel are non-flexible. But I feel that normally if you're pursuing something, the negotiation is not always in your favor. But if someone's pursuing you for a possible collaboration, then it's in your favor. And honestly, I've learned that that's not a trait of Baltimore. Negotiating is not normally a trait. People usually ask for what they want. They don't say, like, what is your budget? Let's talk it out. You know, my experience when I work with people, they'll just tell me what they want. And I think negotiation is part of being successful. You know, understanding that the person you're talking to may not be as committed to what you are committed to, but the outcome could be more of a positive experience for both people. And I think that is something that I found, you know, in my professional career is negotiation is key to success. And never having a number or an idea that cannot be massaged or nuanced or those things. And also think about, you know, what you're going to do with the money. You know, that's an important part of negotiation. If you're doing something that, you know, for some things that I do that are not my studio focus, my exhibition focus, if I'm doing something with a corporation, I have certain things that I ask for, like a donation to my nonprofit. You know, a certain thing that goes to certain things. And it may not necessarily be the outcome that I would get if I'm doing something that's focused primarily on my studio practice. But I know that if I'm doing something like a logo or an image that may pay me a certain flat fee, I know that that's going to go to one of my programs here in Baltimore. So I'm doing it with that level of consciousness in my decision making, knowing that it may not necessarily be what I get paid for when I'm doing certain things, but I know that the trade-off for building the structure by doing this project, by taking 20 minutes to draw something out, is something that is worthwhile doing. So I think that the idea of success, I find in any field, is not closing the door. Being willing to sit at the table with the person who's positioning or presenting an idea to figure out, you know, because they have things that they were told to tell you. They were sent in with a script, and that script is not necessarily something that they're going to stick to. But if you're not going to question those things, then they're going to move forward with the script. But if you question things that are in the script, you also find out things that they didn't even know were in the script, and they might just easily remove it from the script. But if you shut it down just because you don't like what it's saying, then you lost an opportunity. So all I'm saying is that to be successful, I know that negotiation is half and half with anybody you're dealing with all the time. You're never going to get a complete, like, whatever you want to do if you're dealing with someone who's giving you a lot of money. You always got to figure out a middle ground of what you're not going to do and certain things that you're willing to do that will not compromise your integrity as a creative person. But there's no way in most cases, as you elevate yourself up as a creative or whatever, you're going to do exactly what you want to do. And even the biggest performer, the biggest person is doing something. They're showing up at someone's birthday party for $2 million, you know, and we don't hear about that. You know, there's certain things you hear about and certain things you don't hear about from performers, the things they do, and that money goes to organizations that they want to support. So it's things you have to just make peace with yourself as a creative, that as this journey of getting to where you need to go to, you have to understand that there's certain things that you may have to do that are not going to be terrible, but it might not be your dream idea of doing. But it might bring forth some positive outcome that you might not benefit from, but people who you want to support could benefit from it. And that's what I think about as I start doing these nonprofit things, and people know I'm doing these nonprofit things. I get approached all the time by different companies and different things because I'm doing nonprofit things, because sometimes they don't want to do the work. They want somebody who's already doing the work to be the face of the person doing the work. And that's one of the things that I learned being a successful person who's creative. Your image is currency. your image is something that sells ideas. And so you already win when they come to you with an idea because they know you're the best person to promote this thing they want you to do.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go down the line. It's kind of like a wrap-up question, but if you could give one piece of advice to a younger version of yourself, someone just stepping into, the creative world, big dreams, limited resources, etc., what would you say to that version of you?
I'm gonna start that way. Go ahead, Derek. I'll close it out this time.
I mean, one of the best things about growing up here in Baltimore is that I never had a goal of being right here where I am now. Like most people know me, I'm the least famous person you know. Like, I don't enjoy visibility. I don't enjoy being the main person doing stuff. I don't. I consider myself as like a facilitator. If I could do these things without no visibility, I would do them. I just think that, sometimes you have to be the person to do it. But I personally prefer not to be the person. But I find I'm just a person. And so I'm doing what I think is necessary to represent the audience in which I feel is underrepresented.
That part.
But for me, and I think, again, growing up in Baltimore, where it's like a city that's very more about being humble, being modest, all those things are something that's so embedded in my DNA as a person. So, yes, I like all the things that I've been able to accomplish in my career as an artist, as an educator, as a curator, but that's not any. I never thought I would be doing anything I was doing. My dream was just to make art. Like, I thought that I would be like doing whatever job I needed to do in order for me to paint. Like, I thought that I would have a job doing something, and then I would leave my job, and I would go to my studio and work in my studio at night, and I thought that was my future, and I was not in any way upset about that future. I thought that making art itself was a radical thing to be able to do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who don't make art don't understand the joy of being a creative and having a space where you just create things that are virtually floating around in your brain into the world. So I thought that having a door to close, to be in a space by yourself for hours working was a success. And everything else that happened since that has just been an added element of just letting me know that I'm on the right path of the decision I made to become an artist. But honestly, I always knew I was an artist, like even from like kindergarten. My family members know I've never had any other occupation in mind. I had no plan B, I had no plan, whatever. I knew I was gonna be an artist. How I was gonna operate as an artist, like famous-wise or whatever, I didn't think that was even an option because again, I came from Baltimore. There were no artists that I knew who were super famous, who left the city. I just thought that making art was about using your creativity as a person. So everything else added, it's just a better sense of like you're going in the right direction, you're following your passion. But I think that it's okay for people out here who make art to not want to be famous, to not want to have exposure, to not, whatever. I think art is just a lot of work in itself to be creative. Think of these ideas in your head, like to think about these things and make them. It's like a lot of work. So the added part of promoting yourself, the extra part of doing stuff, is like another element that is not really about art. It's about monetizing your creativity. Mm-hmm. And that's where I am now with doing the things that I'm doing in Baltimore with Scout, Art Fair, which I thought was very important. And again, like if someone else was doing it, I wouldn't have done it. I just been traveling a lot and seeing a lot of things that are happening in the world with art. Like even the residency, I visit New Orleans often. I've done projects for Prospect with New Orleans exhibition, and I was walking around and hanging out and going to the vintage shop. I forgot the sister got the vintage shop near Joe Mitchell Foundation. Mm-hmm. And I was walking around. I'm like, wow. I'm like, they got the residency here. They got down the street. They got a vintage shop. It's this strong presence in the city. I'm like, I'm going to do that in Baltimore. That's where I got the idea from.
That's crazy.
I was in New Orleans walking around. I'm like, they got crab. We got crawfish. They got crabs. Like, I could do this. And that's kind of where the idea of the Last Resort came from because it's in a neighborhood. Like, people don't look at the city as an oasis. In most cities, like New Orleans or Baltimore or other cities. They don't look at it like an escape. They want to escape from it. You know, people who grew up in these cities. So I'm like, I want to change the way people think about the city that they grew up in by creating oases within the city. I don't relax in rural places. I'm like, what's that noise? Like, why is it like that, you know? So for me, like being in the city with a lot of space, it to me feels away. You know, I can be in the city and be in an open space and feel relaxed. And so that's my idea of what I've been doing in Baltimore. But I really believe that, you know, there are many ways of being a creative. You don't have to be a famous creative. Success is just about being able to create. You know, I think that to me is successful. I mean, when everything else is going on in the world and you still have time for imagination and fantasy, I mean, come on. Like to me, I feel like that's the biggest achievement in humanity, that regardless of what's happening, when oppression does not make you so heavy that you cannot imagine a world outside of your present condition. And I think that's important.
That's powerful. Not to be type A, but just because that was more than I asked for. It was beautiful. But and what would you say to that kid if you could summarize it to you, 13-year-old you, 10-year-old you, what would that statement be?
I would say keep all of your thing that you're making. Like, treat yourself like you are doing something that needs to be recorded. Like, don't be willing to just hand off your things. Like, that's one thing that I remember growing up. I got a lot of awards when I was a kid, growing up in the city. My mom, she worked a lot. My parents were busy. So a lot of awards I got, a lot of artwork that I made, a lot of things that accolades that I received when I was in school was not something that was collected or archived. Because I was just like, he always doing something. My mother was like, he always winning some award somewhere. I don't got time to be taking off for this. Like, when my uncles would go with me. My uncles would go with me to when I would get an award. When the mayor gave me an award for some contest, my uncle went, who I loved. It was cool. I went with my younger uncle for this award ceremony. My mother was like, I can't take off today. You're doing too much, she would say. You're doing too many things. I can't take off all this time. You know, so I just think that, you know, younger artists here should just really start thinking about archiving. Like collecting your work, having people, if you're an artist, have people photograph your work professionally, create an archive for your work. If you're a writer, you know, scan your material, make sure you keep a folder of your material. Whatever you do, whatever you produce, think of it as a capsule for the future. And don't think about it. Don't always wait for your parents to collect stuff for you or hold stuff for you. Parents have a lot of other things going on, so you really have to think about yourself, you know?
True.
So collect your own things and archive your own material. But I think that what is really important is really thinking about archiving now. Save your material. Wait until you really need to discard your material or hand it off, but hold it down. So when you have anybody who have kids here, you know, I think it's good for the parents to archive it, but I also think that it's good for the parents to tell their children about archiving as they're making stuff. Like, let's archive this. You know, start using that word more often when you're talking about history, because I think that should be a word that is very normalized when it comes to history and preservation.
Powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Powerful. That's all you, Lex.
Well, advice from my younger self. If I'm, and it sounds like it's similar to your experience, there's not much you would have changed about your younger self in your process. I feel that because I just feel like everything is meant to be. We're always exactly where we are supposed to be. We're always where we are at the right time. So even things when have happened that were less fortunate, they happen for a reason. They happen because we needed to learn something. And for me, and you share this, I'm sure, it's the more human experiences we have, we keep that in our back pocket. That is our art. And so I think something that could be applicable to you all, wherever you are in your journey, especially if you live in the city. So I am guilty of the person who moved out of the city in seek of my voice. And it's interesting that I felt like I needed to do that when I did that, because maybe there were a lack of resources at that time. And I think now, if we live in the moment, whatever you need to do, if you feel like the resources aren't there, create them. You don't necessarily have to leave. Create them exactly where you are because you are here, where you were supposed to be. And of course, again, as I said before, that reminder of reaching out across from you. I think Issa Rae said that too. You have to network beside you with your peers. You know, if there's not enough films being made, make them. They sell cameras here too. Make those films with your peers. Shoot that shot with your peers. Paint that thing. It doesn't have to be a canvas. You can't afford a canvas. Go find something in the recycle bin. Make that. Find the resources. This. What I didn't realize when I was living here is necessarily how amazing this place is. We have access to everything, and I kind of left and have this bird's eye view of this city, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it now that I live across the country.
Right.
But the resources are here. They really are, and so just having awareness and the awareness of the beauty this place has to offer, and just seek that out. Whatever is in you, that idea to just, it doesn't make sense right now. You're not sure how you can actually execute that thing. It's stirring in you for a reason, and it's just a matter of opening your mouth and saying it out loud because you will manifest the right pieces. They will literally fall into your steps. Somebody in this room is probably the missing piece that you need for the idea you're sitting on. All the time. So that is my advice that I think is applicable to you all as you are present here in this moment, living in this beautiful place that I miss. So that's, you know, I might come back.
I mean, but to piggyback off that, I think that what is really important is that I think that it's okay to move out of your hometown. I
Yes.
think that's what is really important is to point back to your hometown,
Yeah.
which is important. And I think that what has always been a challenge, I think, for someone who grows up in Baltimore is that Baltimore is not normally a city that favors outside opinion. And I think we should change that a little bit. Because outside opinion can be very helpful in business. And I grew up in places where, like, this is not New York. This is not
Not New
LA.
York.
No, there's certain things that certain cities have who tried and tested, and it was successful. And I think that's what we need to really change with the city. It's not that we want people to move out of the city, but we should also use other cities and people who from Baltimore move to other cities to ask them their experience. How was it leaving Baltimore? Why did you leave? What are some of the challenges you have when you come here? How can we still stay connected with you while you're in LA, while you're in New York? What we need is people outside of Baltimore to look at Baltimore, to visit Baltimore, to spend money in Baltimore. And that means getting people that are from Baltimore to be the champions for Baltimore, like other people who leave their hometown. So I don't think everyone should stay here, but what we're trying to do is make it a possibility for people who want to stay here to still thrive by shining a light back onto our hometown. So I think that some people have to leave, and some people don't. And I think that is okay. But I think what the challenge is that be open for other experiences outside of Baltimore, even if it's just to learn the data of what things work, how things happen, how other people did things. And that's, for me, that's always been a challenge for me, being from Baltimore and leaving and coming back and saying, well, in New York, I learned this, blah, 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 and people saying, well, this is not New York. And New York, blah, blah, blah. But there's things that can work, because New York is considered the #1 creative capital in the world, not just in the country. I mean, you know, so there's things that are important. And one thing that I realized when I went to New York is that you were already a big deal just saying you were creative in New York. Like, you didn't have to have no money. Like, you are money. Like, people will invite you to stuff. People will feed you. They'll give you drinks. They will invite you to all these cool things. And you could be completely broke. You can leave a party eating caviar and go home eating saltine crackers. Like, and Baltimore was not like that. They didn't think of culture as capital. They thought about culture as being a side thing, something you did. And like, what's your real job? What else you gonna be doing? Like, creativity is a real job. And I think that we should be more open to other outsiders giving us some level of data from their experience of living outside of Baltimore, and use what we can and discard what we don't, and be more open. I think openness is something that is a main challenge, I think, with the city overall. thinking about how can we better serve our creative community by understanding how other cities deal with their creative community.
Mr. Ainsley.
What would I say to my younger self? First thing I say to my younger self, and whenever I talk to young creatives, the first thing I tell them, it is gonna work out. Like, cause sometimes people are in environments where everybody's saying it won't work. Like, I'm from a Jamaican family. Trust me. Like, I said to my grandmother, I want to be a writer. And she said, you can't eat book. That's it. That's the answer. Like, can you eat a book, right? But they're not processing like that, right? So if anytime I to my younger self is, it is gonna work out. Just keep doing what you're doing. Second thing I tell myself is, be more obsessive about creating work. Like, I had a thing that I used to do every year for my birthday, which is September 21st, so end of the year is 100 days. 100 poems in 100 days. And we did it across the country, and you have to be that obsessive about creating. Like, you get one shot at life, leave empty. Like, create as much as you can. So that's the second thing. The third thing I tell myself is, fall in love more. It doesn't have to be people. Like, I come to Baltimore and people are like, you love Baltimore? I'm like, have you seen the city? Like, it's a beautiful city. Fall in love with the buildings. Fall in love with the people. Fall in love with everything you can fall in love with. Because the more you open up like that, the more you're able to create, the more you could tap into most of yourself. Because the world tells us every single day that we are nothing, you can't do anything, and you fall in love is you saying, I can't fall in love with a rock. I can't fall in love with a tree. And if you could do that, you could do anything else.
Oh, man. That's beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Wow, those are good nuggets, these wisdom nuggets. Couple of things. So one of the things that keeps shouting to me is getting mentors, having mentors. Making sure that you meet them and you stay in contact with them. I try to tell my young people, I'm like, I'm with you until I die, and if you understand the spirit world, I'll be with you then. So, like, you have mentors that guide you. And it could be not just be in your art, it could be in your finance, relationships, whatever. Because as artists, we're human beings with needs and things, that bills we're paying and relationships and all these things. So having mentors is so important. I remember meeting Marla Gibbs years ago, decades ago actually. And I was so shy. She was trying to talk to me. She was like, I like your hat. I like your hair. All these things. And I was like, you're Marla Gibbs. And I could have got her phone number. She could have been one of my mamas, you know what I'm saying? So don't be shy. I'm telling my younger self, don't be shy, Navasha. Don't be all doing that thingy that you do where you be like, hesitant. Now I'm more assertive about it. So being assertive, I also take what is the word I'm trying to think of? I take for granted that I create music very easily. I hear the drum, like one of my musicians said, you like Michael Jackson. I hear the drums, the strings, I'm conducting everything on stage. I'm writing it in the studio, telling people I'm writing. I wrote the bass line for the song I did. Like, I do all of that. People don't even know I really do that, actually. I can write anything. I can sing any genre, pretty much. I'm trying to think what genre I don't sing. Anyway, but I sing pretty much any genre, definitely from the African diaspora. And so just not taking for granted the gift and being aggressive, as you said, I think, about making art, making songs. I'm also a dancer by training as well, and a choreographer and all these things. So just being more aggressive about creating for me, because I feel like I want to leave empty as well. Yeah, I guess I'll use that language, leave, where I'm giving birth to all the things that are coming through me and not hesitating on a song, not hesitating on a melody. I record on my phone all the time. And then also, I am an implant in Baltimore, and I have definitely felt that implant energy. I mean, I went to Morgan, luckily. It's like, MSU, you know what I'm saying? So they give me some credit. I'm in a sorority, all these things. But you can definitely feel the difference if someone says what neighborhood you come from. So that being shifted would be very helpful for this city, especially if you have people like myself who've been here for almost 30 years or so, making music in my 20s, come out of college, fertile ground, then I'm singing solo, then I'm singing with Behind the Rock, and then I'm just traveling the world singing, and I'm doing nonprofit. There is something to celebrate that. We have a little bit of ageism in this society. Like, oh, that's a young artist. I'm like, okay, there's other artists too, 70-year-old, 80-year-old artists. So just celebrating people who may not have the notoriety, as well, or the thing that people look for in the city, and just making sure they're included in these conversations. I mean, I'm included now, I'm just saying, just kind of being mindful. We have a wonderful university system here. We have all these universities, so they're going to be implants. So to do that, and then finally, just like you said, one of y'all said, everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be an artist. If you have to take other jobs, I mean, my degree is in music education, so it's still in the art field. I never got to teach formally in a school. I did artist in residence through BOPA in my 20s and forever, teaching all around the different rec centers and putting together a show in 20 sessions. I do that pretty well with young people. And so just feeling that gift and doing choreography and boom, we got a show. So that was a gift because I was able to use my art and make the money I needed to supplement the performing arts. So supplementing is nothing wrong with that. I tell my young people, multiple streams of income. So if you do have the gift of finances, do that. If you have a gift of ministry, do that. If you're a person that builds things, do that. I also tell people who build that they could be artists. Like, the plumbers and people work with steel. I'm like, you can make a whole bunch of money doing a piece in front of the city hall or whatever. Like, look at that as being an artist, right? Anyway, that's a sidebar. But I think I'll stop there. Just knowing that, giving back also, making sure that the things that you receive from your elders, from your parents. I do have a parent that collected everything. She would be here now, my mother and my father, if they, I was like, they would be here now. So I do have parents that collected, but just making sure that you are archiving your life and that you are being thankful for the people who have assisted you in life. Honoring your teachers, honoring your choir directors, honoring your art teacher, in any way you can by saying their name when you're in your bios or say your name when you're introduced, because we all stand on the shoulders of great people in our lives, all of us. And so just making sure you're honoring where you learn from stuff, give credit to where you learn stuff from and where you hear things from, and trying to keep that in your mind is very powerful. So giving back, because I'm at the age where I'm like mentoring and being mentored, right? I'm not an elder yet. So in that, just making sure I'm mentoring and being open to being mentored at the same time. And that would just shut down a lot of confusion because you have guidance all around us. And then making you see somebody, I feel like your energy, let's get your number. You never know what divine purpose that relationship. It could become a sister. It could be not just business, not about money. It's about relationships that feed your heart and your spirit to help you in your destiny and the work that you do. I saw you on the thing, what's the show? You just said it. Yeah, the Harlem. Yes, you're excellent. It's so wonderful. And so I'm looking forward to the next seasons. But just making sure we're connecting and not being shy like I did with Marley Gibbs. All right, I'm available. I'm on social media. I answer my stuff. So not being shy. Like, hey, Navasha, I want advice, whatever. Or Ainsley, or anybody on this panel. Just not being shy about that. I mean, we are busy. All of us are pretty busy, I'm sure. But there's a time where you have a moment and you go, oh, what's this? I missed that. Oh, so don't take it personally. But we're available. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.